So it's about 11 o'clock. I was up at 9. It's another night falling asleep, doing the editing for the vlog. Um, I guess it's a little bit of sleep catching up to me, and that's beneficial. No wakey this morning because I need my ears to be clear. When I check out the headphones, the check actually did go through this morning around 4, so I would have had to wait until today anyways. Um, I'm not sure about how I want to do this, but I need to um, do groceries today anyways. So I'm gonna make a list of all the things I need to do. Checking the financial issue suggests to me that I actually I can spend with groceries and headphones combined today. I can spend about $400. So that's more than enough for me to get basically whatever I need. But here's the thing about this. If I buy headphones today, then I am quitting smoking whether I like it or not, because I won't be able to afford to smoke for the rest of the month. And that's probably good. It looks like the weather's coming down a little bit, but I mean, it's still not winter, and there's still no sign of winter. That's something that actually tends to help me on a yearly basis. I tend to smoke a lot less in the winter because it's cold and I don't really want to go outside. But I need to. Well, one of the things I need to check is when I checked the Staples site, it told me that there were headphones of this brand available at the store. It's got everything I want, but it's a little bit more than I wanted to pay for it. So um, if they still have those phones at the store, then I'm gonna go down and check them out. I'm not gonna guarantee I'm gonna buy them, but I'm gonna check them out anyways. Um, and while I'm there, I'll poke around a little bit, see if I can find something that's acceptable to me. I don't want to wait. I want a pair of phones now. And because these are phones for walking, I mean, I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna buy shitty phones because my ears are very used to getting a good signal. But I don't need super high end phones for walking. Um, I do need replaceable cables though, because I'm sick of buying new phones every couple of years. So um, yeah, and having an extra pair that I can use in here is useful. The more I think about it, though, the bigger issue here is an impedance issue, and I don't think I'm going to get impedance levels that I can use on this gear reliably out of much of any set of phones that's in my price range at all. Um, Jumping up to that impedance level is going to cost me more than $200. So um, I have some shopping to do. This is a major purchase for me. It's also the type of thing that I like to explore. So once I get over this kind of hump, I'm sure that I'll get right into it and begin to enjoy it. Regarding the mixing, I didn't get anything else done last night. Like I say, I fell asleep doing the vlog. But I am, at the very least, content that everything that I had done is done. Um, and that I do need to do some mixing for the last couple of tracks, which is what I knew. Hopefully, I come home with a pair of headphones that I can double check with. But I mean, this is very important, right? If I come home and I'm getting the same shit out of the new phones, then I know that this is an irresolvable issue. And the best I can do is with the tinfoil. Um, if I come back and everything sounds, I mean, if everything sounds fine in the MP3 player at least, then I'll know I can make some progress with this. So we'll find out. But this is important what I'm about to do today. So it's early afternoon. I don't carry a clock. If I had a phone, I would, but I don't. It's like 2 or something. I did get some new phones. I got my Sennheisers. They are the 449s. I didn't get a chance to try them in the store, but I didn't really see any much of a drawback to it. This is a significant upgrade. There's no more battery. There's no more funny noise reduction unit. The phones are big enough to actually get all the way around my ears, which is nice. And it sounds quite good. These phones are a little bit bass heavy, which you would expect out of a phone that's designed for MP3 players, phones, that kind of thing. They give it a little bit of an extra boost on the bottom end. I had a pair like that before, and the overall benefit of the bass boost is definitely it's an asset to the phones. That said, I won't be able to mix with these entirely. I can use them maybe as a fallback, but I'm going to expect the output out of my receiver to be a little bassy. For these particular tracks, I mix them very bass heavy, so it's a little bit more exaggerated. And it's actually kind of nice to hear it sound the way that I was expecting it to sound through a pair of bass heavy phones. So everything is aligning well. Like I said, I'm going to stop here and have a smoke. And then the grocery store number 3 was useless to me today. So I'm going to head back to number 2. That's where I'm going to want to get the bulk of the stuff, although I'm going to hold off on some things probably until tomorrow, because store number 1 had a lot of stuff on sale, but they were out of stock on it. So I'll stop by there on the way back, and if there's nothing there, then I'll go there again tomorrow, and if there's still not there, then I'll go out to store number 1 to store number 2 to pick it up. But it's going to be when I'm walking in that direction that I'm going to start noticing, am I getting interference here or not? If I start to get interference, then I'll know that, it's just, these phones are advertised by the strength of their magnets. So there are magnets in the phones. There are magnets in every phone. So it does make sense to think that if I'm walking through an area where there's broken electrical lines creating a magnetic field, then it's going to affect the phones, right? So I'm still not sure about that. We'll find out. These are brand new phones. They sound great out here. We'll see what they sound like when I walk through the neighborhood around my house. Sorry about the blanket. It's just a little cold in here. So I'm at home with the phones. The moment of truth. Am I getting interference? The answer is I can't tell. And the reason I can't tell is because those are fatiguing phones, and I've had them on for a couple hours. I think it's about 6 o'clock. When you put those phones on and you listen to them for a long period, your ears tire out. I've had phones like this before. In fact, my 442s are like that when they're working right. But the ear fatigue is not completely different than the sound of interference. So, number 1, they're very bass heavy, and number 2, they cuff your ears. So, it creates a very loud boom. And if you listen to it for a long period, your ears get tired and they just need a rest. I think I am, but I can't be certain yet. So what do I do? I don't know. I'm going to wait until I'm certain that if I'm getting interference, I guess I need to use that as evidence when I'm contacting the line people. For now, it might be better to keep with the tin foil to ensure that it's clean. The other thing is that I knew pretty quickly that I wasn't going to be able to mix with these phones. It seems that the bottom end is exaggerated, and by exaggerating, like really exaggerated at a specific point, and it seems to blur out some of the detail that I might do at the lower mids or the higher lows, however you want to articulate that idea. So I'm used to the bass having kind of a really deep kick and kind of a fuzzier sound on the harmonics. With often a little bit of sustain on it. What these phones do is that they exaggerate the kick, the punch, but in doing so, they lose the sustain. So I think that I might want to compensate for that on my MP3 player by modifying the EQ a little bit. Maybe a boost, I'm thinking around 200 hertz, might help bring some of that detail in the bass back. But they're certainly very emphatic about the low end. And when I was walking around, I didn't hear any loss in the highs. So it just seems to be that one little spot. Just by overemphasizing the fundamental on the bass so much, you're losing the harmonics. But I mean that can be fixed. And it's partly a consequence of the fact that my mixes are so rich. Most things that you're listening to wouldn't have that much detail at that point. Just the idea of just a little bit of fuzz sustain on the bass part is just outside of the realm of what most musicians are really thinking about. But it's there, and I'm losing it in the phones. So I'm not. These are not mixing quality phones, unfortunately. That said, I think they're going to sound great with my MP3 player as I'm walking around. I listen to a lot of bass music. Not. I should retract that statement because people are going to misinterpret that badly. I listen to a lot of music with defined low end, and it will definitely make it sound better, despite being just a little bit too much for me as mixing phones. So I'm going to stick with those phones, even if I need the tinfoil. I'm also a little disappointed in myself. I should have. I looked at the phones in the package and I said these don't have replaceable cables. It was clear to me, so I asked the guy, "Can you ensure that there's replaceable cables?" He didn't seem like he really knew. He said, "I think there are." I asked him, "Can I open them in front of you after I buy them, and if they don't, can I return them?" And he said, "Yeah." So I did that. But I noticed I jiggled the cord, and once I did that, I realized I can't. I have to buy these now because the cables are not detachable. But I did fuck with the cord, so I don't think I fucked with the cord enough to damage it. But I didn't have the panache to demand. I returned the phones after I abused them in front of the clerk. That would be a little bit too galling, even with the caveat that I placed down. It would be too galling for me. You can call me a pussy if you want, but so be it. This is the reality. I could not. I would have felt that was unjust. I made that error, so I had to deal with it. Do they sound better than $100 phones I could have got instead, or $70 phones I could have got instead? I haven't tested them enough to know. I think there are certain points where the suction around the ears suggested that they did. It's just more of an isolated sound. But that's what I need to do. Right now, I need to let my ears come down a little bit. I'm going to do that by getting something to eat. Doing a few other things I need to do, and then I'll come back to it after. If it sounds okay, then I'm going to spend the night listening to a few things through the MP3 player into there to be certain everything's good. Everything, I'm not picking anything up. I don't even think I'm going to try it in the mixer, to be honest with you. I might try it in the room, but I know that the bass is just too much to plug into there. So I mean, when I mix these tracks, I mix them boomy bass, but I mix them boomy bass relative to my very flat headphones. And I like mixing very flat so that I have a strong understanding of what it sounds like flat. That's what I think a mix should be mixed for. And if people want to play with it afterwards, great. But I mean, I knew that I was mixing it to be bass heavy at the same time, and I knew that if you put it through a system with like a subwoofer or just a heavy bass response, it was going to get real um, thumpy, and it is. In a sense, getting it out of these really bass heavy phones is letting me get the sound that I wanted to get, um, and knew I was reaching towards when I was mixing it flat. But I never, I mean, I rarely get a chance to actually hear that. So that was, this is a useful pickup. Even if I end up eventually, even if I get kind of a little bit paranoid about them and I get another pair for walking, um, this is useful for me as a composing tool to have a pair of phones that sound. I had a pair of phones that sound like that before, and like I say, when the 442s are working right, they're not as exaggerated, but I get the same idea out of them. So that came out very confused and hard to um, understand. Um, I think that if you were to go back and rewatch it and think about it carefully, you would be able to extract a useful meaning from that string of enunciation. As difficult as it may immediately seem, um, the logic is there should you seek it. Um, it is nice to have them bass heavy like that. I have headphones like that in the past, um, that I can use as a writing tool, and this is it will be useful to me on those terms. It was a useful pickup, but not what I need to finish the record. I'm gonna need to use the tinfoil. Um, I guess it'll probably be at the beginning of next month that I'll send the check out for all the things that I need to uh, get those phones back in working order, presuming I can come to the conclusion that the interference in the house is not, or in the neighborhood is not overpowering to the point that it's not going to be resolved by the new court. Um, no, I'm not going to edit this. Um, Although I've somewhat lost my train of thought. Um, Even while thinking that I got everything I wanted to get out, and I'm pretty sure I did, and the reason why the train of thought is gone is because it was completed. Um, I need to get something to eat. So it's about 11:30, and I spent the evening doing things. I did eat. Um, I actually went out and finished up some extra grocery shopping. I wasn't gonna do that tonight. I was gonna wait till next week, but I realized I only had about a half a day worth of soy milk, so I had to go out and do that. I think I'm now actually good for about 10 days. So um, I may want to take a stop in between to get some ice cream and maybe some pineapple. I've only got a few days left of pineapple, but I mean I can live with the pineapple. It's a beneficial ad if I can find it. But I mean I don't want to. I almost bought some cherries, but I mean I have cherry ice cream. It would be pointless, right? And I mean I don't like the blueberries. I like the taste of blueberries. Don't get me wrong, but it's when you blend them up, it gets really fibery. Um, I know blueberries are extremely good for you, but they're not good in smoothies. That's not the right spot for them. Um, so yeah, I went down and did that. I've been playing around on the internet for a bit. I'm getting my vlog uploaded for tonight, and I've got my vlog edited for tomorrow. Um, I want to give myself a good 48 hours of just signal disconnection and I want to wait until that's taken apart before I test with the phones. Um, I'm also going to, I want to test with low volume. So either way, my ears are, the fatigue has lifted. I've come down enough that I think I should be able to hear what I want to hear um, fairly quickly. I don't think I'm going to be up too much longer. Maybe a few more hours. But I have managed to spend the evening positioning myself for a good 48 hours straight of work, and hopefully I get the record done in that 48 hours. And set myself up for the necessity. I don't need to go anywhere for a good 10 days. And I expect to get a lot done in that 10 days. So it's 2 a.m., and I've done enough testing with the phones in here to come to the conclusion that I am getting some sort of interference in the phones, but it's different. Um, to begin with, it's not interference in the high end; it's interference in the low end. Which, I mean, they're bass heavy phones. If a signal's gonna fuck with it, a signal's gonna fuck with it. The second is that it's a lot easier to block with a blanket. Now, I did mention before that I was able to block some of it with a towel, but this is a lot more audible. Now, it might just have to do with the way the signal is right now. But as I said before, you don't blank you don't block a magnetic signal with a blanket or with a towel. That's the goggles do nothing shit. It's this it, you're, the magnetic field it does not acknowledge the existence of your measly blanket. But radio frequencies can be dulled that way. And so that's what I'm left to conclude is that um, it's it could be interacting with a magnetic field, but what it's picking up is radio frequency. Um, that, but because it seems better, I'm left to conclude that the short might be making it worse. Meaning I'm going to buy new cables, but I'm also going to mix with the tinfoil in the meantime. Um, but what I'm going to do tonight, and probably for a little bit tomorrow, is I'm just going to try a listening test. I'm going to see what I've got. The last two records that I did on that device, I'm going to give them a listen. And it's something that as I complete this project, I'm going to be going through all of the things that I've done over the last 2 years. I'll be vlogging them, but I'll also be listening to them. And I'm gonna want to transfer them over there as a part of the listening process. What do they sound like on bass-heavy phones? Considering that most of the population uses bass-heavy phones nowadays, it's such as, and they listen to things on with crappy fidelity and shitty material, shitty equipment. The signal path is really degraded. It's easy to blame the engineers, but I mean the consumers are really at fault for it. They listen to things on PC speakers, and then they, like, I mean, it, um, and I mean, you can't. When I was at the store, I mean, the reason I picked those phones was because they didn't say bass heavy on them. I mean, with all the other things that were going on and everything else, but I mean, I probably would have really pushed for the cheap, to bring them back for the cheaper phones if it wasn't for the fact that I looked at the ones that were there and they said bass heavy right on them, which is what I didn't want. These ones say studio quality, which, and you know what, when I stick the head underneath when I stick my head underneath the towel, the bass certainly goes back down to a normal, um, uh, level. So, it could even just be a consequence of the phones being new. Maybe the magnets need to wear out a little. I don't know, but it's definitely picking something up. But it's not picking up like I'm not getting any distortion on the high end, right? So it's completely different. What I'm getting like booms on the bottom end. Um, so I need to do a little bit more testing. But my conclusion so far has been out of that is that I do see a reason to replace the cord in there, And in the meantime, I think that the tinfoil is the best way to finish the project. Like I say, for tonight, I am going to listen to the last couple of records that I did in the state that they were meant to be listened in on my new set of headphones. A little bit of relaxing for the rest of the night. I have to point out that there is a possibility that I might be getting the Detroit hum. And I mean, the hum might be the magnetic part of it rather than the lines. In the area around Windsor, there's been many complaints and the public acknowledgement of a low-pitched hum emanating from Zug Island in Detroit. It seems to be the consequence of some kind of industrial process that appears to be related to some kind of drilling in the ground. And it's producing a lot of waves that are shaking the ground in Windsor. I have a low battery. So yeah, there's I don't know if it's been measured or not, but it seems to be something to do with like the ground shaking. And the waves from the ground shaking creating audible noise. I would have thought I was outside of the range of that. That was focused more on the LaSalle area, if I understand correctly. But I still kind of want to tie it to the sewers. It could be rather than knocking a line out, they might have knocked they may have created some kind of cavern in the ground. And what I might be getting might be ground waves that are fucking up the phones and picking up the radio signals. That's perhaps more exotic, I will acknowledge. However, it does take into account a known environmental factor. And that reduces the complexity of how many errors, you could say, there are, or how many unusually strong environmental factors there are. The idea that the power lines are creating a field that's strong. If I can tie it to a known phenomenon, I think that's easier, or it's less complex. And that's what you're looking for in a good theory. Besides, of course, empirical evidence, that's the most important part. I never got that Gauss meter. He says he's never utilized one before, so I don't know, I guess my concept, I don't really have a very good concept of an electrician. I took some physics courses in university. That's kind of more my touching point for that, but I guess maybe an electrician is more dealing with like the direct physical wiring aspect, right? So understanding the electricity or playing with the magnetic properties of things might not have ever come up. I don't know how to gather evidence for this. And I think that I would be a hero if I could get that noise stopped. That's not gonna stop. I need to be focusing on ways to shell it out. Tinfoil's working. I have nothing to lose in trying to get a new cord. And hoping that fixes it. But it's just a thought that crossed my mind. Instead of, doesn't matter if it's the lines or the island. It's probably not fixable either way, right? So I have to try to